How do you know where the next boomtown is going to be? Where can people get into the market where prices are still reasonable, but they're most likely to grow over time? There are lots of smaller, less expensive towns that are adjacent to the triangle, and as we grow into a larger metropolitan area, I'm telling you right now that some of these triangle adjacent areas are going to become their own significant cities, and others won't. I think these are the places that you want to get into if you want to be the next hot market where you bought low before anyone else knew it was the place to be. So shh, don't tell anybody about this. Criteria number 1. Forward-thinking and business-minded government. One of the things that has made North Carolina so special is that we're very business-friendly. We have some of the lowest corporate taxes in the country. I think some people don't understand why a business-friendly community is so important. All your political-minded people will talk about job creation and trickle-down effects, wah, wah, wah. But that isn't what I think is the biggest deal about business-friendly environments. Do you know what businesses really do? They meet the needs of the community. Have you ever lived in a community that wasn't business friendly? There's nothing worse than living in a place where there aren't any good businesses, no restaurants or places to shop, nothing fun to do, and yes, jobs or the infrastructure to get jobs that allow you to live a comfortable lifestyle. Criteria number 2 is a community-minded government. This is kind of like the last one, but it's a little bit different because you don't usually see things like parks and greenways created by private businesses, at least not on a larger scale, because there's really not a great way to make a profit. They usually are developed because the town invests in them through tax dollars and because it then increases property values and those tax dollars come back to the town. One thing that I hate to see, but I do see a lot, is high taxes but no development in the community. That's definitely a recipe for a city that isn't going anywhere. When I see governments investing in things the community can use for years to come, I know it will have a positive effect on property values. Criteria number 3, and this one is probably a little controversial, but I don't like cities that have a high crime rate that they haven't figured out how to manage, and you probably don't either. Having laid all that groundwork, let's get into the 3 next boom towns. Number 1 is Sanford, North Carolina. Sanford is an adorable small town about 40 minutes southwest of Raleigh and about 30 minutes south of Apex. At the time of this video, the population of Sanford was about 30,000 people, but it's also the county seat and the largest city in the county. You're really in North Carolina now, but its close proximity to Raleigh makes it manageable if you need big city amenities. And there's something about small towns that you just can't get in the city. I just love what they've done to downtown Sanford. It's a really cool little town with tons of great shops and restaurants.
Purple poodle.
The purple poodle. So how long's the purple poodle been here?
3 years in November.
Okay. How much growth have you seen over those 3 years?
Oh my gosh, so much. Downtown in particular is growing by like tenfold. It's ridiculous how many new businesses we're getting here, and it's just something different in every place. That's what we.
Our second anniversary. So we've got our balloons and everything up right now. We have really worked to get a lot of people in to shop downtown and in the area, and I have seen it busier and busier.
Everybody supports local, and that's what we love. Like Saturdays, even Sundays, we'll have like parties here, and there's people walking up and down the street, or if you go directly across, you see the Before I Die, What I Want to Do, and there's so many awesome things there.
Another thing I love to see in small towns that tells me they are vibrant communities is lots of ways to get involved in local activities and culture.
And the QR code for recommended things to do. Let's see. Look at that! How fancy! I love it. We don't have that in Cary.
New people moving in, oh yeah, I would say probably get plugged in downtown. What I love the best is that you're known. I mean, you're not a number. Everybody knows you. Everybody's friendly. You don't have to. People will speak to you on the street. People will wave to you driving down the road.
So let's look at why Sanford made this list in the first place.
10 years ago when we started this Open for Business platform, they did a lot of marketing to say, here we are, right here, the whole
Right.
time.
Right, yeah.
You know, and that worked. I mean, now we have this all this industry that's
Sanford is a very business-friendly community, and there's a huge development that they've been a part of that will be the primary vehicle for the growth of this fantastic little town. And yes, that was a double entendre because there is a major electric car company coming to the area, and Sanford had a hand in making it happen. VinFast, a Vietnamese electric car company, is coming to Triangle Innovation Point, a new innovation center in Chatham County, and the Sanford Town Council was instrumental in making it happen. Seeing the long-term benefits of a project like this, Sanford partnered with Chatham County and the Golden Leaf Foundation to manage wastewater at the new business park. It might be hard to imagine the impact this will have on Lee and Chatham counties, but VinFast is going to employ roughly 7,500 people, which if they were located in RTP would make them the second largest employer in RTP, with IBM being the largest and an estimated 10,000 employees. IBM was one of the first employers to be established in RTP back in 1965, and look at the effects that has had on the Triangle area. VinFast will have a huge impact on the area. But this isn't where it all started. Sanford has had a history of investing in the development of new businesses. I've talked before on this channel about how tech companies from Silicon Valley are seeing the Triangle as the new frontier of growth and business development. But tech isn't the only industry expanding from California. Sanford won out over San Diego, Austin, Colorado, and Massachusetts as a new home for several life science companies, including Pfizer and Aduntes Therapeutics, a gene therapy company developing medicines for neuromuscular diseases. At the same time Sanford has been working to attract businesses to provide jobs for its citizens, they've also been working hard to make Sanford a place that people want to live. These things kind of go hand in hand, and I want to address something that I hear a lot in the comments on this channel when I talk about growth. A lot of times people who grew up in these areas will leave comments about how everything has changed and it's no longer the town they grew up in, but there's something people are forgetting. A town that isn't growing is dying. If someone doesn't do the hard work to provide some kind of employment other than working in a grocery store, the next generation doesn't stick around. They leave and go find jobs in bigger cities, and then they look like this. We can look all around at dying towns throughout North Carolina for proof of this.
And that's happened where my husband's from. He's from down east, and you can't have that. You can't have people
Right.
leaving and not coming back.
That's great.
Right.
That has turned around, and lots of younger professionals are moving here or staying here.
Let me know in the comments if you think the growth of small towns is a good or a bad thing, especially if you're from Sanford. I want to hear your thoughts. Anyway, Sanford is incredibly proud of their community theater, and it's well attended by locals.
Ooh, I like all the paintings that I've seen. Who painted that?
That's probably a Beverly Brookshire piece. Yeah, that's our Brookshire down there. She actually, her studio is right across the street. It was built in 1925 originally, and it was renovated in, I think, 84 was when they renovated it, and that's where most of the stuff is. But we still have in there the original tin ceiling from 1925. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
You grew up here?
I did, born and raised. From what I remember, what they used to say was this building was very popular because that Depot Park, the train station, used to connect. It was the halfway point between New York and Miami. And so actors that were running that circuit would start in New York and they'd do their vaudeville shows there, and then they'd come down here and they'd stop in Sanford for about a weekend. They'd do their vaudeville show here, and then they'd run down to Miami to finish their circuit.
They've got regular outdoor movies at their downtown Depot Park. There are multiple spots for outdoor concerts that happen throughout the season, and there are plenty of local businesses like breweries and Raven Forge Games that provide opportunities for locals to get involved. The median home price in Sanford is an astounding $237,000, and look what you get for this price. Something like this, or this fully renovated home on 2 acres for $269,000. What? And there are some really nice neighborhoods if your budget is higher. For $450,000, you can get something like this house. There are definitely new construction homes in Sanford, but I love some of these older homes with character like this one, and it's in a gated golf and lake community. Really beautiful. The next town on our list is Pittsboro, and when I show you the median home price, you're gonna be like, what is this person talking about? Because it's gonna look like Pittsboro has already boomed. But I'm here to tell you that it hasn't, and you can still find homes that are much less expensive than they would be in Wake County. Let me just get this out of the way and say that the median home price in Pittsboro is $522,000, and it's gone up almost 40% in the last year. But before you freak out, you need to understand what is happening in Pittsboro. There is a ton of new construction, and a lot of it is very high end, and that's skewing the numbers. But look at this house. You can still get a decent 2,000 square foot house on an acre and a half in Pittsboro in the 400,000s. The new construction around here is higher priced, but I think there are still homes that I think are going to be a lot more expensive once the planned infrastructure is all in place. So let's talk about that. Just like Sanford, Pittsboro is about 15 minutes from the new Triangle Innovation Point, but Pittsboro has a few other things going for it as well. There's a developer in the Triangle who's well known for some of the most beautiful planned communities that we have. Preston Development Company is the creator of Preston, McGregor West, Wakefield, the Arboretum, Wessex, Knightdale Station, and many more. They had an idea to create a community that was bigger, more integrated, more connected with nature, and more environmentally friendly than anything they'd ever built. The culmination of that vision is Chatham Park in Pittsboro. They knew that everybody wants walkable communities, but they're really difficult to find. Chatham Park is building multiple corporate centers into the community. When RTP was built, they didn't actually include housing in the plan. Back in the 50s and 60s, when suburbs were developing, commuting was the expectation. It turns out that nobody really likes that. Live, work, play communities are our modern response to the suburban commute. I almost feel like it's a miniature city, all the benefits of a city, but smaller so you don't get lost in it. Maybe it's more like recreating the small town vibe when small towns were still vibrant. Chatham Park is also built adjacent to Jordan Lake and the Haw River, so there's lots of recreation opportunities. There are miles of hiking trails in the neighborhood. The developers have made use of green practices like solar power and reclaimed water.
We're the only community in the state of North Carolina that has its own solar park.
Chatham Park is a place that I'd say is an easy pitch, and actually it does most of the pitching for itself.
All of the different companies that are rolling in here, we're going to be ground zero for activity in the coming year.
Preston Development engaged O'Brien Atkins for the planning of the commercial districts within Chatham Park because they've got 40 years experience of development in RTP, and Chatham Park is about the same size as RTP, but rather than just being a business park or a neighborhood, they've mixed them together along with plenty of social activities as well. Pittsboro has long been known for its artistic influences. Cooperative grocery stores, breweries, cideries, butterfly gardens are all pretty common in Pittsboro. Along with the development of Chatham Park, some of the newest additions to family life are the Night Farm Community Park and Thales Academy, a private school known for community engagement in areas where new developments like this one are growing. People like them because they build a school within the neighborhood faster than the public schools can respond to the growth, and they give families moving in a school option where their kids can walk to school instead of being bused. They're also pretty affordable. Now we're going to head over to the east side of the triangle to Clayton. Clayton is the county seat of Johnston County. It sits about 25 minutes southeast of downtown Raleigh and about 40 minutes drive to Research Triangle Park. Clayton's primary industry has been agriculture for a long time. It's a small town with a really close-knit vibe. With a population of 30,000 people on the outskirts of a major city, Clayton's biggest draw has always been cheap housing and less crowded schools. People often move there to get away from Wake County's capped schools, preferring Clayton's charming small-town life while still getting high-quality schools. Much of that is beginning to feel like relics of the past. Many of Clayton's schools have been facing the same capping issues as Wake County, and now some new development might mean that small-town life won't last forever. Some of the expansions in Clayton aren't going to seem as big and exciting as the ones we just talked about on the west side, but big things start small, and we can already see that Clayton has been growing quite a bit just from the overflow of Wake County. The median home price is $393,000 in Clayton, affordable compared to other parts of the triangle, but still not cheap. Grifols Therapeutics is a biotechnology company located in Clayton. They currently employ 1,600 people and are the largest employer in the county. As we've seen with other areas, when there's a specialization in a particular field in an area, it tends to draw more companies in the same field. Grifols will be expanding their Clayton operation with a 150,000 square foot building and adding 300 new employees. I would not be surprised if we hear of more companies like this locating themselves in Clayton in the future. Another development drawing attention is the newly formed Copper District. You have to realize that Clayton is still very much a small town. The Copper District is named after the Penny family, upon whose farmland the development will sit. Get it? Copper, penny. You've got to love a city that uses a pun to name a new development. Major points in my opinion. At any rate, this development plopped down into the middle of an old family farm. It's going to have high rises 6 to 10 stories tall. This is going to completely change the landscape of Clayton and provide a lot of Class A office space, commercial and retail development, condos, apartments, and townhomes, as well as single family homes and 120 hotel rooms. All the stuff you need for more biotech companies to be comfortable calling Clayton home. Clayton has heavily invested in outdoor spaces, arts and culture. You can find a mix of the outdoors and art on the Clayton Sculpture Trail throughout downtown. Clayton invested early in their greenway system and connected the Clayton River Walk to the 27-mile Neuse River Greenway. They have recently expanded on the Sam Branch Greenway to provide more opportunities for adventure. Clayton has a beautiful new community center, a community park with sports fields, tennis courts, and disc golf, and another brand new community park with a playground designed for accessibility for children with special needs. The last criteria I mentioned was crime rates, which I haven't touched on yet, but all 3 of these towns have relatively low crime. In this map legend, you can see that green is the lowest crime, yellow is next, then orange, red, and dark red. And just for comparison's sake, here's a map of the triangle. You can see that those suburbs to the west of Raleigh, that's Cary, Apex, Holly Springs, and Fuquay, all have the lowest crime rates in the area, but the entire triangle region is much lower crime than other North Carolina metro areas. So these areas are slightly higher in crime than the coveted western suburbs, but they're still not close to being high crime areas. Honestly, if I were betting money on it, I would bet that in 10 to 15 years, these outlying areas that we've just discussed will have crime rates comparable to those western suburbs. I've actually seen it happen, and some recent studies are showing that there's a positive correlation between towns that invest in their parks and crime rates. Anyway, I think these towns are a great investment. If you like this video, you might also like this one about why the Triangle's eastern suburbs are so much cheaper than the western ones.